All right. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this week's Tipple's Wine of the Week tasting with Elizabeth and Jeff Beaudre.
That is awesome.
That is so
I love it.
I love
That is the best.
it. That is the best.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Yes. This week we are drinking the Rombauer Zinfandel.
We have to finish with that too. In the
Right.
yeah.
That's awesome. From California. That is so fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for calling the Facebook Wow group. Did not mean to do that. It was in my pocket, and all of a sudden I was like, "Why is it ringing?"
Right.
So, oh, good,
Right.
we've got it in the background, right
Very
there.
nice. I love
Be
it.
there the whole time.
Well,
Okay.
you guys know. Well, I will discuss my opinion on Zinfandel again as we go later on into the tasting. Let's go to the first slide and get rolling.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh. And somehow it changed from what I had set it up for. So here we go.
All right. So here we are. Rombauer, a Napa Valley winery. All right. There's Zinfandel, which is a California Zin, not a Napa Zin. Interesting, right? We're going to cover that when we cover the label.
There's a difference.
It's not labeled as Napa.
Oh, okay, it's
Right.
not labeled.
So this is a Napa Valley winery, but they're
Okay.
making a California Zin.
Okay.
And we'll
All
talk
right.
about why.
I didn't know
is.
if there was a style difference or something in it.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, good
Well,
thought.
because I know that like sometimes when they make things in different places,
Mhm.
it's got a style to that region.
Right.
So, okay.
Yeah, fair
All
enough. All right, I get it. Ratings, Wine Enthusiast 91, Willy Wong 90. All right. Food pairings for this guy. Roast eggplant curry with chickpeas, barbecued meats, a spicy tuna or salmon roll. It's got a nice spice to it. That's Zinfandel. Not super heavily bodied, not heavily tannic. So it does allow you some flexibility, but it's not without tannins if done well. So
Okay.
let's see.
So wait, I have a question because, my mother's now cooking for us on Tuesdays, but we never know what she's going to cook. So
Right.
this is a roasted chicken with veggies on a stick. She didn't say skewered.
On a stick.
Veggies on a stick and fresh broccoli.
Yes.
Is that going to work with this?
Not exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
So I'll just drink it all beforehand.
That's right. We'll
Okay.
just, you know what, it'll be two separate
Don't worry
courses.
about the pairing.
There
at
will be
all.
the Zinfandel course.
Okay.
And then there'll be,
Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool.
all right. So let's stop the share on the
Okay.
slides and we'll pour a glass of wine for you and get started.
Cool.
It is that time. If you haven't already jumped ahead, and I know most of you have, and I don't blame you.
Yeah, they're all drinking already.
Jerry's pouring.
Okay, he's on a second glass.
Exactly.
That is fair enough. All right, so here we have a look at this beauty. This is 100% Zinfandel. Alcohol content 15.9. She's a
I like
beastie,
it.
matey.
I like it.
Right? She's a
Mhm.
big girl. Aging potential on this one. Ready to drink young, but can age for up to 10 years.
What
Right.
are we on?
This is a 2019. So yeah, so we're 3 in.
3 years.
Aging 16 months on oak, mostly neutral, but 16% new. A combination of American and French. So when you go with the more neutral oaks, you're really looking to enhance spiciness rather than adding a ton of vanilla. All right, that's the point of older oak and especially the French oak. I would say there is still a little bit of vanilla in there. So that 16% is letting itself be known. But it's very spicy.
Mhm.
Red fruits on the nose.
Red fruits like cranberries.
Like it can be cranberry.
Mhm.
I would say this guy more raspberry,
Okay.
maybe a little bit of dried strawberry.
Okay.
Mhm.
Plum.
Plum, sure, absolutely.
That wasn't my idea.
Plum, yes. Yeah.
It was Linda Roquefort.
Mm. Mm.
Mhm. I was very willing to take
So-
credit for it, but I figured he might see
Mm.
the all caps in the chat, so I had to come clean.
So Zinfandel tends to have a higher acidity,
Mhm.
right? And so that keeps the fruit fresher. So you're not usually going to be talking about, though I have had it, but usually it's not that you're drinking something that reminds you of figs,
Okay,
or prunes.
okay.
So this would be more like intense, like in what I'm getting here,
Mhm,
intense red fruit, like a bramble component, right?
mhm.
Like raspberries and, like I said, dried strawberries, but still on the red side of the fruit spectrum.
Okay.
But there's this really cool cocoa quality,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which kind of
Mhm.
anchors it. So it brings it down in there. So you've got spice, you've got red fruits, you've got cocoa.
Well, and I feel like I do taste that plum component, but it's the plums with the red flesh in them,
Mhm.
not like the lighter white
Right.
flesh. Yeah.
Yeah, little,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
but still on the red spectrum.
Yeah. Mhm.
Very deep in the red spectrum,
Mhm.
which, if you're going to dried strawberries, you're going down deep into the red. But I wouldn't say as much, it's not blueberry to me. It's not blackberry to me.
Mm-mm.
It's much more the dark, rich, very ripe, but red fruits.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Paul's getting that chocolate too. He said
Mm.
the initial taste, he could taste that chocolate. on it.
Right?
Mhm.
It's almost a milk chocolate, which is, as it's opening up here, that initial whiff of vanilla is really, to me, turning into like a milk chocolate.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's the first time we've ever said milk chocolate with a wine. Normally we're on dark chocolates or baker chocolates or something, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
More of a milk chocolate.
And I think you're totally right that, yeah, the milk chocolate side is less common.
Mhm.
Mhm. So texture, there is some tannin here, right?
Mhm.
It does have some grip on the finish. It dries out and makes you ready for the next sip.
Yeah.
And this guy can handle, some barbecue meats and that kind of a thing because of that. If you had it with barbecue pork, or even like a hearty salmon dish, that kind of a thing, it's more medium bodied,
Mhm.
but with some tannin.
Yeah.
So it makes it very flexible. You can keep throwing out ideas almost the entire time we're here.
I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a peppery taste too, but not so much like on the tongue or on the roof of my mouth. It's on the back of my throat.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, you're totally right.
Okay.
So baking spices turns into peppers.
Okay.
Like a black peppery
Yeah.
finish.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. And that is what I want out of a Zin. I want it to get that peppery spiciness in there. That's what I love about it, because they all come in with big fruit. So I want something to balance that big fruit.
Okay.
And so if you can give me some spiciness and a nice tannin on the finish, then you'll balance out the entry, which is big fruit on the way in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's what I'm getting.
If it doesn't balance out, does it taste sweet? Like,
Yes, it
okay.
can be really almost cloying.
Oh,
It's all
okay.
fruit.
Okay.
And it gets there and you're drinking like a fruit juice that, it's like,
Okay.
I say some of the poorly made, like Zinfandel can be obviously, I think very well made, but Zinfandel is one of those grapes like Pinotage
Mhm.
that can be incredibly poorly made, right? It can really
Yeah.
jump off the cliff
Sure.
because a good Pinotage is a thing of beauty and a poorly made Pinotage is just not.
Just not.
Same thing with Tanat. I love Tanat. You
It's
guys know I'm a
just
big Tanat fan.
Not. Just not.
It's-
Tanat.
it's-
Tanat is not made well.
That's right. So, but a poorly made Tanat is just cranberry and tannin. And it's just not very much fun. Mhm.
Any other, what you're smelling, what you're tasting?
Any other thoughts? I love what you
impressions?
guys have had to say so far. Anyone?
I taste some licorice, like that. There's like a spice, like a licorice sweet spice to it.
Yep. I like that call. I would put that in the baking spices category. We get like an allspice anise thing going on in there.
Mhm.
Totally agree.
We got top hog, or I got some barbecue. I got ribs and brisket with some bacon wrapped jalapeno cream cheese. It goes really well with the bacon wrapped jalapeno.
The
Oh, I
smokiness.
Holy cow, is it good?
Yeah.
Not so much with the spicy barbecue, but the jalapeno is great, and then the meat is going really
Yeah,
well with
it's
it
like
too.
the fattiness of the bacon kind of coats your mouth and really, and the smokiness too. I think it complements that well. I had a bite of his pepper. It was good.
nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Sounds good.
I can see that working really, really well because you've got
I'm
this.
really happy about it.
No, good. That kind of the chocolatey anise side of this wine playing around with the hot, with the little pepper, the
Mhm.
jalapeno, and some fat would almost get smoky. It would almost enhance the smoky side and probably bring out some more of the spicy peppery side too, with what you're experiencing.
That's so funny that you say the fattiness, because I was like, this is so smooth, like it's like makes the Zen feel heavier, but we're also always eating charcuterie. But I just gave him a bite of like spicy salami with like a smoked Gouda. I was like, okay, eat this and then drink the wine. Like that was like the
Yep.
perfect combinations for like all the good mouthfeel and flavor. It was like perfect.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that sounds good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, and then we have a comment in the chat from Kristen Cheryl, not sure that they would have called it correctly in a blind tasting. Big fruit and minimal black pepper for a Zin.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So yeah, I get it. It's actually a cuvee of locations. We're going to talk about why it tastes like what it tastes like and why they designed it to be that. So I'd say you're right. You can get Zinfandel that has a lot more black pepper in it, but they were going, I think, for the majority being big fruit baking spice
Mhm.
and then the black pepper following on the
finish.
finish
Okay.
and getting some tannin in there. If you were to go, we'll talk a little bit of like, we'll follow up on that a little bit more when we talk about the locations that they have sourced it from. And if you were to do a single one source, location, you would get more pepper,
Okay.
right? So they decided it was a design.
Okay. So I'm going to
So-
save my question about that for when we get to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
right.
Let's go back to the slides. We'll do the label
Mhm.
and then dive in
Okay.
to the grape.
And then Rachel agrees. And then Linda felt the same way as Julie, had a similar pairing with charcuterie. And then is this our first all Zin bottle that we've done?
No,
Okay.
no, we
Okay.
did Gurgitch.
Oh, that's right.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm. So that was Napa as well, but that was Napa sourced.
Okay.
Mhm.
All
And
right.
so this is, a cuvee of multiple regions brought together.
Okay. And then we have they were guessing minimal grapes sourced from Lodi. So I guess we'll see when we get to that.
Yes.
Okay.
we
all right.
will.
So they're guessing ahead of time.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
That's right. But that's a great throw in there. I like that.
Okay.
That will come back around.
All right. Would you like for me to share?
Yes, please.
All right, we're gonna do our label review.
All right, so on this guy, let's start from the front. So the point of the label review is if you're in a wine store and you have no good help, you're just wandering around by yourself and you're unfortunately what is a normal wine store.
So
in the
you
United
are out of
States.
town.
You're out of town. You're not at Tipple's.
Mhm.
You want to grab some wine. You pick up a bottle. You don't know anything about it. Just some thoughts of what I would do if I was in that situation and what I would, pick up on as I looked at it. So let's see here. Rombauer, vintage 2019. Okay, cool. Most things throw a vintage on. Zinfandel, family owned and operated. That's cool,
Mhm.
right? Now, it's not the end all be all in any way indicative of good quality wine, but I do love when a family is owned and operating the vineyard. They're really putting their stamp on it, and it tends to give me a feeling of more confidence. It's not, if it's not there, I wouldn't be confident, but it is a plus, right? So there's a +1 for this guy. On the back, Rombauer is in California as a whole, right? So without having extra information like from me, I would just see California as a whole and think, wait a minute here. Because a lot of Zinfandel is very inexpensive,
Mhm.
and that's just California as a whole, right? This guy's a little more expensive. Why is that? What is going on here? because, until you get down to the bottom, you don't see that it's made by the Rombauers in Napa.
Okay.
So it could be a little confusing as to the price point at this
Sure,
point, because you
sure.
say, well, it's just California. What's going on? Now, the reason being in this case, it's a cuvee of very high-end regions that they don't have a designation for them to put a label on,
Okay.
right? So they've crossed some boundaries.
So they have to say just
They
California.
have to say California at large
Mhm.
because they crossed some boundaries that don't connect together.
Okay.
In fact, 3.
Oh, okay.
All
Wow.
put together. Right. They give you a wonderful story on the back, though, where you say, all right, this is family owned. They've got the information about some of the regions for, some of the acreage dates back to 100 years. So you look at it and say, okay, this is giving me a give and take.
Mhm.
If I know nothing else and I can't ask questions. But the Napa is going to make me think good things, right? Call me a homer, but I do like Napa Productions, and I think most of us do. So big alcohol, that would probably grab my attention. But then again, for a Zinfandel, that's actually pretty normal. It's a big wine.
To have the higher ABV.
Mhm. So knowing nothing else, I would have a give and take on this guy.
Mhm.
I'd be like, I would end up saying, okay, maybe if I'm in the mood for a really nice Zin, and I see Napa's on the back, because I see the little higher price point for Zin, but they're claiming California, not Napa, I would probably give it the nod and say, okay, let's give this guy a shot, right? If I knew nothing, right?
Right.
Knowing Rombauer is an entirely different beast, right? Knowing that Rombauer is a wonderful winemaker with an incredible history, I see Rombauer and I immediately feel comfortable and want to move forward. So
Okay.
as much as I was doing the contrarian discussion, I
Mhm.
don't want to leave that as the taste I was
So
giving
if you
about
know
looking at this
Rombauer,
bottle.
You
Right.
see the name on it and you're like, okay, cool. I like Zen.
Right.
I'll
That's
pick that up.
going to work out.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Big, rich Californian styling
Mhm.
is their hallmark and well made.
So I was just thinking, see, I don't do any of this because I just take pictures of the menu or whatever is there and send it to you if I'm not with you. But so I am now wondering if all of this is so that you're just educating me, so I will stop doing that when I'm out of town. Please, God, let my wife just pay
That's right.
attention to this section
That's right.
so that she will stop bothering me when she's out of town.
I have no illusions that that's going to end.
No, I'm going to continue just doing this.
That's right.
It had not occurred to me prior to this moment that this is all like, oh,
If
geez.
you didn't have me around, and
What might you look for?
yeah, then my wife looks at me and says, I could not have you around.
Right, exactly.
All right. Okay. So let's go to the next slide, please.
Okay.
All right. Zinfandel grape, right? Zinfandel. You've got the nice pictures from Wine Folly. They're amazing. The 4th most popular grape
Oops, sorry.
in the US. Thank you. Behind Cab, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir. But that's no slouch. I mean,
Yeah.
those guys are huge, and you're coming in there. It's a high acid as a base, high acid, low tannin, intense flavor and colored wine. Small berry size, but it has thick skins. So the thick skins give a skin to fruit juice ratio that's high, which gives it more intensity. So that comes with a lot of flavor and a lot of color.
So 4th most popular grape in the United States, but we grow the most Zin in the world.
We're
Right?
going to get there. Yes.
Okay.
That's usually easy to see through because it has a thin, I was like, it has a thinner skin. Did I say thick by accident?
Mhm.
All right. So it has a thin skin, but a high skin to juice ratio.
Okay,
right?
because it's
So
smaller
that's
grapes.
right.
Okay.
So there are other grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon has a thick skin, where you
Mm-hmm.
get all the extra tannin on there. So if you get the most out of the skin, you get some tannin in here. And so the more tannin you're getting, I feel the better it's grown,
Okay.
right? Because you're getting the most out of that skin on the
Okay.
grape. So it is an intense skin, but is a thinner skin. But there's a lot of skin to juice ratio.
Okay.
I want to be clear.
Yeah, because
I
it's
think I
smaller
said the
grape.
wrong word earlier
Mhm.
and I apologize. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think you did.
all right. So let's see, go to the next slide, please. The origin for this grape is Croatia. It arrived in the US in the 1800s, but it wasn't identified as a Croatian grape. They weren't sure what it was until the 1990s when they ran genetic testing on it. So in Croatia, it's called Tribedrag.
Okay,
Tribedrag. All right. But it's also called Primitivo in Italy.
okay.
So the top growing areas are the United States and then Italy. There's very little left.
So is it,
in
it's northern
Croatia.
Italy near Croatia? Like,
No,
what-
it's not. It's actually
Oh,
down in
okay.
the boot heel
Really?
in Puglia.
Oh,
right.
okay. Because I was like, well, it's, they just went back and forth over the border a little bit.
Oh,
and
right.
that's- Yeah, but okay.
So there's 43,000 acres grown of Zinfandel in the US,
Mhm.
27,000 in Italy, and only 170 acres in Croatia where it comes from. So basically it's not there.
Anyway, we really don't like this grape very much. We're not going to
Right.
try it.
So this is what I say. So the reason I put USA as the password with an exclamation point, right? A, yesterday was the 4th of July.
Right.
B, I've been saying this for years, and I know a lot of you guys have heard me. This should be the signature grape of the United States of America.
Right. Plus, it's your platform. Look, you already have your.
There it
first-
is.
Your first poster.
I want to be president.
Yeah, there you go. They're gonna be calling people. All those political phone calls you get, it's gonna be for Jeff. His platform is Zin is the
Zen is in.
grape.
Zen is in, ladies and gentlemen. But I mean, you look at that. We grow by far the most in the world, and we
Yeah.
grow by far the best in the world. And that's not being a homer either. I mean, like, you know, once again, we do. We put the most work into working with Zin, and we have some beautiful Zins in this country. So I think it should be the signature grape of the United States of America. I know a lot of people would say, no, Cabernet Sauvignon, but you cannot displace the French on Cabernet Sauvignon. That is
right.
not happening.
Right.
They
Yeah.
own that,
Okay.
and they should.
No, that
They've
makes
earned it.
sense. Yeah.
So anyway,
So this is ours. We have perfected this one.
I honestly believe that. Yeah,
Mhm.
like that to me, we have done the most with this grape, taking it up a level.
Yeah.
And really bring it around. So I talked about the flavors on the top there already. It can get blackberry, right? And I'm not saying you couldn't get a tart blackberry flavor in there, but strawberry, cinnamon, sweet tobacco, brambles, spiced plum, like you were talking about, you know. So a little bit touch of vanilla.
Yeah. See, I know what all of those taste like, except the sweet tobacco. So whenever you talk
More
about
like
that, I'm
a
like, I
like
don't know what that tastes like.
like a vanilla pipe.
Okay, I know what
smoke,
it smells
you know?
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. Next one, please.
Okay.
So before we go into the anatomy of this guy, because I did kind of cover that already, but the reputation of Zinfandel was almost completely destroyed. And frankly, we're still struggling against it by the creation of white Zin or pink Zin, usually called white Zin,
Mhm.
the sweet rosé created from Zinfandel in
Right.
the 1970s. Cheap, sweet. People think Zinfandel means a sweet wine. To this day, I'll say to people, they'll be eating something spicy
Mhm.
with dinner, and I'll say, okay, that would go with the red.
Mhm.
Let's go with a Zinfandel. Oh, I don't want a sweet wine. And like, no, it's not that. And poor Zinfandel,
Right.
you know,
You're
that
talking
whole,
to the Gen Xers.
Right.
We're like, you know what? I remember Zinfandel from when I was in high school.
right, exactly. White Zin is still a thing. And by the way, do you know that white Zinfandel is still the #1 rosé consumed in the world?
Really? I'm sorry.
I try to pull myself together.
It's Brian's mom. She buys it all.
It's Brian's mom.
Brian's mom and teenage girls.
Yeah,
right.
well, I said
American
that
teenage
before,
girls.
right?
Right. And let's be clear, I am not saying I'm against sweet wines. I'm against that sweet wine. I will go on the record for it. And you can quote me
I mean-
on the presidential campaign.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, that one, by the way, that was created by accident. white Zinfandel was created
Yeah,
by
I remember
accident.
you said that like a year ago. I don't remember the story though.
All right, so they were creating white Zin, they were creating a rosé. And the equipment malfunctioned while they were gone for a holiday, so they were gone for an extra day. When they came back, they had many, many gazillion gallons of rosé of Zinfandel that the fermentation stalled. And so it was still sweet. And they didn't know what to do with it.
Mhm. And
And
they thought, we're not pouring this down the drain and losing all that money. Let's market it.
that is the story as I read it. They decided, let's put it into bottles and see how it tests.
Mhm.
And it marketed through the roof,
All the teenage girls and Brian's mom.
right? Yeah, I'm gonna tell you,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that'll drink it. So anyway,
I mean, I loved
Once
it back,
again,
back in the day.
I like a sweet wine designed to be a sweet wine. I'm fine with that, right? I'm not against sweet wines, but
So
I
like a sweet
don't love them.
Riesling or something. Yeah.
Right, yeah,
Mhm,
exactly.
That it's supposed to be that
Mhm.
way. Right. But as we saw, was it last week that we did the Riesling or the week before?
Last
Anyway,
week.
last week, they come in all, it's a
Full-
spectrum
right,
of
full
Rieslings. Yeah.
Spectrum of sweet
Yeah.
and tart and delight.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that. All right. So, all right. So on this guy, intense skins, but thinner skins. When you get a thinner skin, you tend to have a harder time getting higher tannins. But it doesn't mean that you can't get an intensity of color and flavor, which this guy provides. When that happens, usually you get more intense acidity, which we do get generally with Zinfandel, unless you over ripen it on purpose. If you choose to over ripen it, you can get rid of that and fill it all with sugar. That does happen. And that is certainly what you're going to use to make white Zinfandel. And there are a lot of Zinfandels that can be really just fruity, huge alcohol beasts. I always feel badly for that because it can be this beautiful beverage that, like what we're having here
Mhm.
tonight. So it can be made better. I like good Zinfandel.
That's, I can see
It
you
needs a
like
champion.
at a podium. It can be made better.
It can
Like,
be.
you have to
So-
do the arm, like
That's right.
banging on it.
Vent back better.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
Ready?
Next. Yes, please. All right. So where are we growing this?
Oops. It should have minimized the people, but it didn't. Hold on.
Right.
All right, there you
All
go.
right. There we go. Thanks. So here we are in Los Estados Unidos.
But we're like kind of around, like we're not just in Napa.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're
But is it
it's a
all
tight
right?
cluster. It's a very tight cluster. So we're right here in the middle of the growing latitude that runs through the west coast of the United States of America. Here we are right here, this area.
All around. there.
Actually, literally, I love this little arm that goes up here to the Sierra Nevadas. This is it.
Okay.
And let's zoom in. So we are dealing with part of the North Coast, Lodi, and then into the Sierra foothills.
So Chris and Cheryl are like, pat on the back to us.
That's right. I know. Chris and Cheryl, we caught a little bit of Lodi. I'm just telling you, and you are correct. So let's go in here a little bit more. So it's a little
Actually, Jeff, I have to confess. No, we said minimal Lodi.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
I can't
yeah,
take,
little bit of Lodi.
Right.
take the credit.
That's okay. So let me look at the.
There's a
order of
place
the-
called YOLO.
Yes, YOLO, California.
That is awesome.
Hey. And I will tell you, it is a little bit of Lodi.
Okay.
No, like you nailed it because it is the second to the least amount in the mix.
So they can pat themselves on the
Right.
back.
So this is El Dorado and
Mhm.
Amador County. So this is the Sierra Nevada foothills.
Okay.
Right.
That
So-
little hook that went
Right.
over.
So we're getting up into the mountain foothills.
Mhm.
So they're dealing with very warm days and they cool down very quickly at night with the mountain air cooling it. Right. So that gives them more time on the vine before it reaches full ripeness. And it lets it gain a little more character, a little more tannin, a little more spice. Right. So then, well, actually, I was going to do this a little different way. Here we go. So here are vineyards indicative of that region because they're going into the foothills. You see a little bit of the pines that are going in there.
Mhm.
So El Dorado and Amador County, you're in the Sierra Nevada foothills. So now we're going to Lake County. The next highest amount is from Lake County and the percentages. This is just north. This is where Napa and Sonoma come back together. And it's very volcanic. And so you deal with some decently warm temperatures, but
Okay.
you've got some elevation to cool it off.
Mhm.
And you've got a lot of minerality. So the minerality component is what you're really looking for to add its piece to the puzzle of what we're drinking. So medium ripeness, medium length of time, because it's warmer up north, but you're higher elevation. So there's a moderation factor there, being medium. But what makes it outstanding or interesting is the minerality of the soil.
Okay, but it's warmer up north?
It is. So
Okay.
Napa Valley runs from south to north,
Mhm.
coolest to warmest
Because of the bay?
because of the bay.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yes. Because of
Interesting.
San Francisco Bay. The bay. Anyway, all right. So, all right. So now we go to the third one, if I can get it. Lodi. All right. So Lodi, here's where we're getting sugar ripeness. We're at 15.9% alcohol, right? Lodi is a very warm growing area. So you can grow a lot of grapes inexpensively-ish, right? And you can get them very ripe very quickly. So this is going to give you probably your base wine,
Okay.
character given from all the other guys. And the last part is,
Do they have the
Napa.
percentages broken down?
Yeah, they do. They
Okay.
do. You get down to like 6% of Napa,
Okay.
you know, so the bulk, but really the bulk is from the Sierra Nevada foothills.
Okay.
Almost 50% of it, no, over 50% comes from the foothills,
Okay.
where they've got that warm day, cooling nights. It's actually kind of similar to Napa, and you're getting a lot more good wine from the Sierra Nevada foothills. They cool off for a different reason, because in Napa, you're close to the ocean.
Right.
In the Sierra Nevadas, you're away from the ocean, but you just have that cool air up in the mountain effect
Yeah.
rushing down
Okay.
to cool off the hot days. In Napa, you're not getting quite as hot, but you're getting cooled down also from the nights, from the ocean at night.
The ocean and the fogs.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right. So made it through Napa. All right. Next one, please. All right, Rombauer Vineyards, which looks like a magical place.
It looks like a Hobbit house.
Right, and there's so many pictures of that entry.
I love that.
They-
See, you don't have to go to New Zealand to see that.
I want to go there soon. I don't know if they're going to talk about it in the video. I couldn't hear every segment of the video, but
Uh-huh.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
Okay.
Because I was in the store and all
Right.
the noise. So anyway, they have a mile. They said, I think over a mile or approximately a mile of caves for aging built
Oh, that's
into
so cool.
right. Yeah, literally cool. Literally.
No,
cool.
that is my kind of spelunking.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's a great call. I love it. I really want to go here. So their whole thing is they want to combine like food and wine, but
Mhm.
what they want to be family connected and give you a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
They're really connected to your experience of wine and not just making it this mechanical business exchange.
Okay. Yeah, no,
Which
that's
I kind of-
fantastic.
The more I learned about this family, the more I want to drink their wines.
So Reese might actually enjoy going there, even though he does not like wine. With
Our
the whole
son-
experience of going there.
Our son has to be cured of this malady.
Only drinks it in church. That's it.
All right, so founded in 1980
Okay.
by Kerner and Joan Rombauer, still family owned and operated to this day.
Fantastic.
So the next slide, please. By their children. So their children are JR and Sheena on the left. We have Kerner and Joan.
Okay.
All right. The first,
So those are both their children.
yes,
Okay. I thought it was a couple.
you're right.
Okay.
That is not. I looked it up, like
Mhm.
when I went further in, I was like,
Mhm.
okay, that's.
Those are their
oh,
children.
Those are
Okay.
their kids.
Okay.
So the first vintage they produced was in a friend's winery
Mhm.
in a garage because they didn't have their own equipment,
That's awesome.
right? They'd been working in the area for a little bit. And Then as they move forward, Joan focused her career on sales, and Kerner was in the vineyards
Mhm.
and then working to make the wine. In 1982, they built their own facility, which I think, learning from their own issues, they built it with excess capacity so that they could work with other upcoming wineries to let them crush, press their grapes in their facility
Mhm.
to get started when they were growing them, but they
That's
didn't have the
fantastic.
equipment.
They helped the next generation of winemakers.
Little names
Okay.
like Duckhorn,
Oh, wow.
Etude, Dominum, and Maryvale.
These are the people
some
they
big-
helped.
These are the people they helped get started,
That's
that worked with them
amazing.
all the way through 2008, some of them.
Wow.
So, in 1991, that was their first appearance in the Wine Spectator Top 100. So they're very, very famous for their Chardonnay,
Okay.
and it's a great Chardonnay. It has a lot of oak in it, but it has a lot of freshness in it as well. They actually source the Chardonnay because they are in the Napa Valley section that's a little warmer, which works well for this wine, but not so much for Chardonnay. So they are sourcing that, but they have a long time partner down there where it's one of those, like the French. We're talking about 30 to 50-year contracts.
Okay, yeah.
They're growing it exactly the way they want it grown.
Right.
Like it, essentially they control it. So,
Right.
Right.
They
So
just don't own the land. That
they
it's-
just own the land.
Right. But everything else about what's going on with it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So let's see here. Let's slide forward here, please. All right, so this is Richie Allen. He took over as head of winemaking in 2008. He began there as an intern, helping to bring in the harvest. And he is the head winemaker to this day.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Right.
Good for him.
Right. And so that's who we're drinking from right now. He made these decisions to grab the different sections.
Mhm.
So at some point while they were there, and I didn't write it down because I thought, well, too many facts just get boring, about the dates. They actually own some of the land in the Sierra Nevada
Mhm.
foothills. So they really saw the similarity, like I talked about, between Napa and the Sierra Nevadas and the quality that could be coming from there. So they actually control that area as
Okay.
well, where they're pulling from. So, all right, and go to the next slide, and we will hear from Richie, actually.
Okay.
And this is about this wine.
Okay.
Vineyards for our Zinfandel. The base of it is Old Vine Zinfandel from Amador County and El Dorado County. They're the two main grape sources. Because we have access to these incredible Old Vine Zinfandel vineyards where the vines are anywhere from 60 to 110 years old, they have a quality and a character to them that is truly unique. The reason we use these in our regular Zinfandel is it adds a depth and volume that you can't fake. You can't fake that kind of quality that you get from these old wines. And when you blend them together, you can make a wine that is so rich and so opulent that it's hard to believe that it's possible. And Rombauer has a distinct house style of Zinfandel that revolves around ripe fruit. The 15 vintage for Rombauer Zin is no exception. It has ripe fruit, lots of boysenberry, lots of blackberry, lots of plum. It has a spicy component on the aroma and a background vanilla. On the palate, those flavors follow through, but it has this silky smooth texture. It's one of the softest Zinfandels we've made in the last decade. And that rich fruit component with that soft texture is like, you know, a velvet glove running across your palate. It's so silky soft, it's hard not to drink.
Oh, there you go. Go ahead and take us out.
Out of the chair.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So that is the presentation about this wine. Any thoughts, or did anything come across the discussion while I was busy presenting?
No, nothing
No?
in chat.
Okay. All right, cool. Any thoughts, you guys, before we go on to thanking our sources and going through the descriptions of ratings?
I thought the like spicy foods, like before we had charcuterie, I had a spicy chicken taco, and the spiciness mixed with that tended to like accentuate the booziness of the wine.
Mhm.
But after I took a little drink of water and like kind of reset, it was a lot smoother. But I feel like the the spiciness of the food like made the wine taste boozier.
Hmm.
And I would say he made it very, not very spicy, but like,
Pretty spicy.
yeah, like the amount of spice in ratio to the meat he was throwing in the pan quickly was like more spices than I would say the average person would have put for
Okay.
tacos. But he was like sitting here, he's like, I don't know, it's so boozy. I'm like, are you getting like a bourbon barrel? You know, like how sometimes there's the
Right.
barrel aged wines. And I was like, because I'm not getting that. And
Right.
he was like, no, it's just too heavy. And I was like, go drink some water. Like, go try something different. Cause I was like, that's not, but
Yeah.
it had to have been something in the chicken like that, or it could have been because it was originally smoked. The chicken
Yeah.
was smoked.
Oh.
Then he
It could
tossed
be
in spices.
something.
So
Yeah.
it was funny, yeah, to hear how the different flavors will really bring out the differences.
Yeah. Well, I can see that. I mean, certainly it really does matter what else is going on your palate while you're drinking. It's going to dramatically affect, which, you know, that's why we talk about pairings, right? Because the right pairings enhance the whole experience for both sides, the
Right.
food and the wine, and the wrong pairings tend to clash.
Right.
So,
But I mean, we have suggested spicy with this, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I've had this with like Jake's favorite, which he loves, spicy tuna
Mhm,
sushi.
mhm.
I thought it was fantastic.
That's
so,
my favorite too. I love
Yeah.
spicy tuna sushi. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So maybe it was the smokiness or something
Could
that,
be.
yeah. And I'm sorry, Brian didn't like increased booziness.
That is one thing I said too. I said you'll probably never hear me say this, but like it just tastes too boozy to me.
Uh-huh.
I'm just like,
That's right.
To be fair, he also had 2 very large glasses in the store an hour ago when we were picking this up, and something else.
That was
Was
it.
that it? Okay, but 2.
That's all right.
Yeah, it was like already hitting.
No one's here to say anyone's wrong.
no, but I mean,
No.
definitely the pairing could have influenced it for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely.
And
No,
I
it's fine.
feel like that, like like we did mention barbecue,
Mhm.
but depending on what you put on it, it could
I could
obviously.
I'm gonna say
have
like
changed
a nice smoky base barbecue
Mm-hmm.
or a smoky base barbecue with like a South Carolina sweet sauce.
Mhm.
I could totally see working with this.
it. Mhm.
But if you were to go with a bitey vinegar
Yeah,
barbecue sauce, I don't see that working with this.
I don't know.
So they say barbecue as a whole, but I would
Right.
not do the vinegar side. I
Sure.
don't think that would be a nice pairing.
But somehow the water fixed it for him. So
There you go.
yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, Chris and Cheryl said it was they feel like it's very smooth. I agree. It's what he was talking about on the video too, how smooth it is. Yeah.
Right. It's smooth. So that means if you don't have that big textural bite,
Mhm.
then you run the real risk of just being a fruity mess.
Oh, sure.
And unless you have character from the flavor. And I think that's what they
Mhm.
made sure. If you over oaked this and made it a vanilla fruit bomb,
Mhm.
we wouldn't be drinking it tonight because I drank it and I loved it. So
Yeah.
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 So. All right. Without any further
Well,
ado.
I mean, unless anybody else have any comments or questions or,
No, just like you're saying, very drinkable,
yeah.
very
I agree.
drinkable, nice, looks heavy, but not as heavy as it looks as far as being
Mhm.
overbearing, so to speak.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, very pleasant wine.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
I agree. I think it is very drinkable, even for someone who, I mean, I'm a red wine drinker, but
Mhm.
I think for someone who wasn't a red wine drinker, they would still like this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an easy entry point, but it has character, it has class.
it does.
It's not, it's not a fruit bomb, which is
Mhm.
my thing. And Zin can be,
Right.
but that's why I appreciate well-made Zin.
Mhm.
And this is, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right,
Okay. And the Snyders gave it 2 thumbs up. Well, Rachel did.
cool.
So.
We'll see what that translates into. It means nothing unless I see numbers, Snyder's.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So,
Next.
yes,
Share.
please.
Okay. All right. I
It's
have
gonna
to
try and
like,
start
yeah.
again. There we go.
It
All
always
right,
wants to
so
try and start.
this guy was given, like I say, right at the 90 point, right? 90, 91.
Mhm.
So listed at an outstanding wine of superior character and style. That tends to be, I always like to talk about, and I was just discussing this with some wine reps today. and even a big time importer of wine, it tends to be stretched up, right? Where
Right.
it's stretched up and down, right? Where you end up getting a cluster around 90, where you have some wines at 90 that maybe shouldn't be there.
Mhm.
And then wines below 90 where people think, oh, that must mean it's not a very good wine. If it's an 88,
Right.
and you think, no, that is a very good wine. It's literally by definition, a
Right.
very good wine. We should want to buy 85 to 88s.
Mhm.
And I don't want people to get that idea, even though it does persist in the market, that you have to be 90 to be a good wine, right? But at an outstanding wine, hey, does this guy give me, is it well made? Does it give me some specific characteristics that stand out in my mind in a positive way? And does it stand up for the region?
96 before, but yeah, I'm happy with 94.
Okay, so wait, hold on, because we're gonna wait and call for
Right.
ratings in just a moment. I mean, you can put it in the chat, but
Right.
we'll take the mic in
So,
just a moment.
right.
with it.
So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, like I say, so 90 to 94, an outstanding wine. So if you're talking about 95, you're talking about a classic wine, something that should really stand out to you as something that you would like to have again on your 50th wedding anniversary or something like
Okay,
that.
so
right?
I do have a question.
Mhm.
We have had a wine, I'm gonna write it down. We are not naming it.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
We have a wine that has a very good reputation.
Right.
That the last time we drank it, I refused to drink it because we were like, okay, we should try this again to see if it's all that, and we were not
Mhm.
happy with it. Is it still, are they still submitting for scores?
Yes,
Are they still getting the scores?
yes, they are.
So we're being influenced even with the big people that are rating these, they are influenced by brand name.
I think so, yes. And so my thing that I always, because it comes down to, I try to bring it up and I feel like I just thrash around a little bit in trying to discuss it. But I wanted to bring it down to this. A rating is just the beginning of the discussion.
Okay.
All right, somebody who does know wine thought highly of this wine for certain reasons. They can't always explain every single thing because they have a short little snippet that they
Sure.
can write
Sure.
about it. It's the beginning of a discussion and it's not the end of the discussion. And if you disagree with them, it doesn't mean you're right or wrong, right? But it's another point when you don't know anything else about the wine.
Right.
At least it's a point to kind of, all right, consider if it was well rated. Okay, maybe. I have a new wine, which we'll all discuss off air, that was very low rated that you and I both had that we loved. Did we discuss it last week?
No.
Okay, so I
Okay.
couldn't remember if we did that off air
Well,
last week.
You know, it's an interesting thing because like listening to that, then what it makes me think is if you are a brand new winemaker, an up and coming winemaker, or this is the first time you've submitted, that you are actually going to get a much more honest score. Possibly.
Yes, possibly.
Then if you are the BMW of wines, if you're the Maserati of wines, you're going to continue getting
They-
the Maserati ratings,
Right.
even if you're not,
There's-
making.
There seems to be some truth to that.
Okay.
Yes, there does seem to be truth to that.
Yeah.
Because what we're going to discuss off air is like this wine we loved
Mhm.
was an 85.1.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
which is a very good wine, right?
Right.
Supposedly,
But 85.
but the
yeah.
actual thing, if you were to say, here's a $60 wine and it's got 85 points in the market, people would shy away from it. And so they wouldn't want to see that rating.
Yeah.
And that's not reasonable. There's an issue. There's a friction point between 92 and 85 to me, where things aren't shaking out the way they should.
92 and 85. I just broke the pen.
Right.
But if for some reason it's a 78 wine, don't get that.
Yeah,
If
no,
they're
like,
advertising-
yeah, if they're saying if it's a 78 wine, just like, no,
Yeah.
that's clearly, you can do better.
Okay.
So,
All right. Let's see what people.
all right. So given all of that confusion,
Okay, I'm gonna stop the share moment. Let me,
Let's see
Scroll
what you
back.
guys are feeling. And
Okay.
Paul has a question when we're ready.
okay, Paul, should you ask your question before or after the ratings? What do you think?
No, well, I do want to ask it now because Jeff was
Okay.
talking about if you're the kind of person that's going to look at ratings and try to make decisions off of those ratings, would a good rule be, find a rating system, find a rater that you agree
good.
with? Are
Yeah.
they pretty consistent with their ratings? Like you're talking about James Suckling. Are
Right.
they pretty consistent with saying these are our ratings and I can trust these for these wines?
Yeah, I would say generally you're going to find all the major wine rating people and organizations to be within a few points of each other. So if you're dealing with a 90 and someone else gave it a 92, you're still dealing up in that range. So I would say, yeah, look, these people are good and they're doing the best they can too with judgments and that kind of a thing, and taking everything into account for the style of wine the winemaker's producing. And it's hard to say, oh, well, this is a 92 for people that love a fruit forward wine, and it's an 88 for people that don't love a fruit forward wine and prefer something that's more balanced, like a Bordeaux. It's you'd be rating yourself all over the place. So I don't want to come across as too hard on these people.
Right.
They've got a difficult job to do here.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
it's subjective.
Right.
I mean, there are some things that are objective about it. So you could have a rubric to try and, inject some objectivity.
Right.
But it's still an art form. So,
Right. It is. You're coalescing all these things.
right.
Because, for example, the Dials, they're busy playing croquet
Yeah,
tonight.
which sounds fantastic,
Right.
right?
Sounds fun to me.
Wine wickets.
But they really love old world wines, right?
Right.
So they are not into the fruit forward wines.
Yeah,
So it's really hard to find them a Zinfandel that they
sure.
like
Sure.
above a 90.
Mhm.
Because they're not into the fruit forward
Right.
wines. But then there are other people that love fruit forward wines.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to them, something more, dirty tasting
Mhm.
and dry, then they're not going to. So,
Right.
so there's that piece of it. It's all this coalescence, which is why I like to kind of cover it. But in the end, just take into account, was it well made? Did it have obvious flaws? And then other than that, was it good for you?
Was it good for you? Did it
Yeah.
have some complexity
Right.
too?
Yeah, did you have something
Right.
to talk about, or did you just say, well, that was strawberries and I have nothing else to say, right?
Right,
So
right.
if you have some other discussions and then there, so so anyway, taking that in case, so we covered Paul. Let's
You want me to
go-
do some ratings?
Let's
Okay.
do it.
Julie and Brian both said 91, but
Okay.
Brian says not with very spicy food.
Okay,
Okay.
limits,
Then Paul said 93, 94,
nice.
and Linda 92. David and Rachel. Oh, I thought you were the same. No, David 92, Rachel 93. Blind taste test would have been tricky.
Yep.
Big body, lots going on, really loved it. Yes.
Right.
So, and that's what the Montreal said too, that the blind taste test would have been tricky for them. So let's see, 94, pretty unanimous with
Wonderful.
Laura,
Yeah.
John, Brenda, Linda. So David, this is perhaps the most ringing endorsement I can give. I'm taking small sips so I can make it last. That's awesome. And then Julie, we just switched to a sweet goat cheese on top of coconut
Oh
crackers.
my God.
And
you guys get
Brian
the coolest
bumped
stuff.
up his score. I know, right?
Right. We need to start doing this from their house.
I told you we talked about that at one point, to just drop by people's houses and be like, hey,
Knock, knock, knock.
we're doing it from here.
Boat trays are here.
It's like the Publishers Clearinghouse or something, but we're not giving you any money. Sorry.
Yeah. We're here to eat your food,
Like,
but don't worry, brought our own camera.
exactly. Jerry says a 92.
Wonderful.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
For me, it would have been 91.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Very
really
nice.
liked it. Because of my own personal biases,
Mhm.
I would like a drier, dirtier.
Tannicker, more
Tannicker.
tannicker. The
Tannicker.
tannicker is not
It
not
is, yep.
a more
Now
highly
we're-
tannic. Yes. So I get it.
Yeah.
Really nice in.
Mhm.
Like the character. Like the fact that it's got some, got some freshness to it. I get where they're going on this. They nailed what they were going for.
Oh, I'm sure.
They designed it well.
Yeah.
And it's a delicious wine. I
Mhm.
think it counts as at least a 90 plus.
Well,
so,
I'm on my second glass, so I definitely like it. It's just, personal preference influences.
Yeah, I think,
Mhm.
and I think anything 90 plus is entirely in there. And that's not
Mhm.
saying, I'm not saying 90 and oh, you guys went too high. I'm saying 90 plus range, you're all right. Like
Mhm.
this is a well-made, well-designed wine.
Right.
It's a good version of Zinfandel. It's a classy version of Zinfandel.
Yeah. And I think our range was 91 to 94.
Yeah.
So,
So, and I probably chose it for that reason. I'm just saying. But, I know. I never really.
Probably.
I always feel badly like throwing my opinion out because
Mm-hmm.
obviously I chose the wine. I drank it first.
yeah. Well, true.
Right. There may be a little ego involved. Like you're all correct if you loved it, and anyone who didn't, you're wrong. That's not what I wanted this to be.
That's for the after party. That's what you tell everyone.
That's true. When we start.
Not on camera.
Okay, so let's thank our sources
Okay.
and see what we're drinking next week.
Sounds good.
So I had a lot of sources this
We
week.
did.
So thank you to winefolly.com. Always, they are amazing. I encourage any of you guys read their book, go to their website. They're amazing. Wonderful YouTube videos. 750.com, Wikipedia, Dog Trekker. That was actually where I got one of the great maps on there. And it
Really?
was about dog-friendly wineries in
That
California.
is awesome.
Rombauer, one would think. Visit Napa Valley, Lake County Wine Grape
Wait, let
Commission.
me ask you about the Visit Napa Valley.
Mhm.
Do they really have 2 Ps in that, or is that just user error?
No, their version of Napa Valley has 2 Ps in it.
Okay.
No one else would have seen that, Elizabeth.
In case someone wants to actually go to the website, I'm just saying,
Just use 1 P.
just 1 P.
Discover CaliforniaWines.com and wine.com. All right.
I checked to make sure California was spelled correctly. It is. Good.
Yeah. All right. So next week, we will remain in California.
Awesome. Oh,
Yes.
that's so funny because we talk about Lodi.
Right. So we're going to go to Lodi big time, Chris, next week. Next week is all Lodi. Inkblot Petite Syrah. So the Inkblot series, it's a really cool series from this winemaker to explore what would normally be blending grapes
Mhm.
and let you taste the individuals. You know how I love to do that.
No,
So you can taste where the individual pieces parts come from.
so it's a whole series with like the Rorschach.
Yes, there's a whole
Labels.
series of them.
That's awesome.
There's a Petite Syrah, there's a Petit Verdot, and there's a Cab Franc.
Very
There
cool.
used to be, it's not, I think they stopped making it. Oh, makes me sad. I gotta
Okay.
find some. Anyway, wine rating, a 94.
Yeah.
That's a beast. That's a big
We
rating.
haven't done any.
That's a lot to live
94s.
up to right
Yes.
there. Food pairings, venison with mushroom, cream cheese, and a mushroom and a cream sauce, goat cheese stuffed mushrooms, or barbecue burnt ends. Right?
Yeah.
It's a heavyweight champion of wines. It is
Yes.
Petite Syrah coming into the ring. All right, it's a beast. All right, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You guys are going to love it. I know many of you are going to love it.
Many of us, maybe not Brian, but many of us will
Yes.
love it.
So,
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
stop the share and we have 2 chats. Oh, birthday
Birthday
wine.
wine.
Exactly.
hey, look,
Linda.
I'm not saying that there's a big red wine because somebody's birthday is next week, but it may have
It is
come.
actually on the 12th, so I'm super excited.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That's
We'll
awesome.
be drinking to 43 years with the big wine, so I'm excited. It's gonna be good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and Rachel's very excited too, or David, whoever has control of the Rachel. Okay.
I do love a very well made Petite Syrah.
Mhm.
It's a great grape. So I
Yeah.
look forward to it. All right.
Absolutely.
So, I
Well,
probably need a little
Do
bit.
we have, before we end the recording, do we have any last questions or comments or? Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you, guys.
Cheers.
Good night.